So what is the topic today is crystal field theory. Crystal field theory. This is the topic what we are going to discuss. Very, very important. This is very, very important. So it's like more or less it is likely to come in the exam. What is this crystal field theory? We'll see. The first point. So I'll tell the points wise. Please make a note. The transition metal ion, the transition metal ion is is surrounded by ligands with lone pair with lone pair lone pairs of electrons with lone pairs of electrons, and the complex is and the complex is a combination is a combination and the complex is a combination of of central ion surrounded by surrounded by surrounded by other ions or or molecules or dipoles. So what are these molecules or dipoles? They are nothing but ligands. So what they are telling, there is a transition metal ion. Suppose you have cobalt 3 plus, that is a transition metal ion that is surrounded by ligands. Ligands means the NH3 kind of things. Okay, NH3, NH3. We have read about this octahedral complex, right? So this is like this. You have the NH3 groups. They are surrounded by cobalt 3 plus. It is like this. So this is the situation what they are talking about. Surrounded by ligands with lone pairs of electrons. Lone pairs are coming from nitrogen. The lone pairs are coming from nitrogen. It is donated to the central metal ion. So that is the idea. So it is like, see, the cobalt 3 plus, it's a ion. These ions will have vacant orbitals. Vacant orbitals. So these ions will act like, you can think like a, if anything is having a vacant orbital, you can treat it as a Lewis acid. Okay, Lewis acid is the one which will accept the electron pair. They accept electron pair. They accept electron pair. So what is accepting electron pair? Cobalt 3 plus. Similarly, this NH3 molecules are there. No, these donate the electron pair. They donate electron pair. So that is the situation. So NH3 molecules, they donate the electron pair. So that's how you get. Okay. So that is the, this is what is called a, it's kind of you can say it's a kind of a football kind of thing. Okay. So here it's a group of molecules together. So that's what is called a complex. Okay, a group of molecules together. Complex is the combination of the central ion surrounded by other ions. So it's a group of molecules. Group of molecules, that a group of molecules, they have a specific nature. They contain charges. I mean, you have central metal ion surrounded by a negatively charged entities or dipoles. Dipoles is the another kind of situation. Dipole situation is like this is a dipole situation. NH3, that's a neutral molecule. That's a dipole situation. Water can also form a dipole. You know what is a dipole? A positive and negative charges which are separated at a distance. That's called a dipole. So such things. So the negative end will be turning towards the positive end. Like that, the dipole is reframed here. So that's what the first point is. So hopefully you have noted. Can I go to the second one, Amma? Second point we'll write.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the point number 2. All types of ligands, all types of ligands, all types of ligands are regarded as point charges. Very important. Are regarded as point charges. Regarded as point charges. All types of ligands are regarded as point charges in case of anions. In case of anions, and the dipoles in case of neutral molecules, and in case of anions, and dipoles in case of neutral molecules. Neutral molecules. So let me explain this point. All types of ligands are regarded as point charges in case of anions. So actually this sentence would have been better if we write in case of in the case of anions, anionic ligands. So we'll reframe this. Anionic ligands are treated as point charges. Okay. So neutral ligands, you know, right? Neutral ligands are like water, ammonia. So water, ammonia, these kind of things are neutral ligands. They're treated as dipoles. Okay, right. Now, anionic ligands, why this point charge thing? Because it is like we are, see, Coulomb's law, you know that Coulomb's law, right? Coulomb's law is applicable when you have point charges only, right? Are you getting the point? Coulomb's law you can apply when you treat the things as point charges. So the reason more or less this theory is based upon the Coulomb's law. So they are considering it as point charges. And dipoles, you know, you read in physics, dipoles are very short dipoles, how the electric field will be. So you have read that E axial and E equatorial. E axial is Krishna Prasad on cube of x. You would have read that half of cube of x like this. So I remember like this. So axial, equatorial. You have read all these things, okay? So it is like this. So it's a small kind of, if the molecule is small, it is very easy to deal, okay, kind of stuff. So that the theory wise, if the molecule is very large, the thing is that here anionic ligands are point charges. This is it looks a very simple statement, but that's not simple. If you consider ethylene diamine, right? Ethylene diamine is a very big molecule. It's a neutral molecule, but still we will treat it as a small dipole. Okay, sulfate anion, SO4 2 minus. Suppose this ion is there, still this is a big ion, but still it is treated as a point charge. So like that, it is a kind of approximation. Okay, crystal field theory that has one approximation. So it is treated like, so there will be, you will see that there will be the it's like a Coulombic repulsion they will consider into the picture. So you will understand by the crystal field splitting later. So this is the point number 2. So neutral ligands are treated as dipoles. So that is the ethylene diamine kind of things. They are treated ethylene diamine, ammonia, water. They are treated as dipoles. Okay, obviously they are dipoles only. There is no doubt about that. So this is the water molecule. You know that the oxygen will have delta minus and hydrogen is delta plus. That's how they are dipoles only. Here ethylene diamine, if you consider ammonia, no, the nitrogen will have a slight negative charge will be developing because of difference in electronegativity, and the protons will have positive charge. Okay, this is the natural thing. So there is no doubt that you can consider this neutral ligands as dipoles and the anionic ligands as point charges. So that's the point number 2. So point number 3. So the point number 3 is the interaction between the metal ion, the interaction between the metal ion and the negative ends of anion and the negative ends of anion or ion dipole you can think of, or dipole, is purely electrostatic. This is what I was telling, is purely electrostatic. Electrostatic interaction means that's a Coulombic interaction. F, that electrostatic, when they say this word electrostatic, it means that F is proportional to Q1 Q2 by R square. Depending upon the units, you can put that. Okay, you know this one, F is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square. Okay, so what is Q1 and what is Q2? One is the metal ion, another one is the ligand. So that's how they are treating. So I told you about when they are considering the situation as point charges, the situation what they are considering is like Coulombic interaction. Okay, so the interaction is purely electrostatic. That is the bond between metal and ligand is 100% ionic. But this is not true really. See, we say that the metal and ligand, they are forming coordinate covalent bond. Coordinate covalent bond is not an ionic bond. But we, in this theory, crystal field theory, will consider it as the whatever the electrostatic interaction is there, that electrostatic interaction only is there. There is nothing like sharing of electron pair. They are interacting like a positive charge and a negative charge. A positive charge and negative charge, they are interacting means there will be a Coulombic attraction. Of course, it will be there, but this percentage is less actually. Some percentage may be there. Some percentage is, you will have some percentage will be like covalent character will be there in some percentage. Covalent character means coordinate covalent bond, which means the sharing of electron pair. That is the one case. And the other case is like you have Coulombic interaction. Both will be there actually speaking. But in this crystal field theory, we will assume that the interaction of the metal ion with the negative ends of the anion. Negative ends of the anion means, I will let you know, suppose OH minus is there, the oxygen will bear the negative charge. For suppose HS minus is there, sulfur is bearing the negative charge. I hope you are getting the negative end is that. Suppose cyanide Cn minus is there, the carbon is bearing the negative charge. That is the negative end they are talking about. Suppose I have cobalt 3 plus. I am taking the example of cobalt 3 plus itself. This cyanide molecule, the negative end is interacting with the positive end like the Coulombic interaction. That means the Q1 is +3 and Q2 is -1. And again, you can put this formula and utilize that. That's how they are talking. Are you getting this? Is this clear, ma?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So that's why we are talking about it is 100% ionic. So that is a case 3. So we talk about case 4. So the case 4 is that the ligands surrounding the, this is point number 4, the ligands surrounding the ligand surrounding the metal ion produces the ligand surrounding the metal ion produces electric field the ligand surrounding the metal ion produces electric field, and this electric field this electric field influences the energies of orbitals of central metal ion, orbitals of central metal ion. In particular, they influence d orbitals. In particular, they influence d orbitals. D orbitals will have influence. Okay, ma? The ligand surrounding the metal ion produces electric field, and the electric field influences the energies of the orbitals of central metal ion. In particular, they influence d orbitals. Okay. So what is the situation they're talking about? See, it's the d orbitals. It's the d orbitals which will get more affected by the ligands. It's the d orbitals which are getting more affected by the ligands, Amma. So that is the situation what you have to keep in mind. D orbitals are getting more affected by the ligands rather than any other orbital, not p, not s. It is the d orbitals which are getting more affected by the ligands. So that is the thing which you have to remember.
Okay, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Now, the next point. In the case of free, okay, free central metal ion, in the case of free central metal ion, the 5d orbitals d orbitals are degenerate. What are degenerate orbitals? Orbitals having same energy. Orbitals having same energy. Orbitals having same energy. They are called degenerate orbitals. Okay, ma? Orbitals having same energy. That means all the 5d orbitals will have same energy and they are degenerate. Okay. So what happens when ligands approach? When ligands approach the central metal ion, when ligands approach the central metal ion, the d orbitals of the central metal ion of the central metal ion will be split into different sets into different sets. I will explain this. This is a little bit of different sets, okay, of orbitals. Having different energies. Having different energies. This is due to electric field of the ligands. Why it happens? I'll explain this. A little bit tough concept, this one, don't worry. So when ligands approach the central metal ion, the d orbitals of the central metal ion will be split into different sets of orbitals having different energies. This is due to electric field of the ligands. Ligands will create electric field because charges will create electric field. You know that very well. Okay. This is called crystal field splitting. Okay. This is called crystal field splitting. Crystal field splitting. This is called crystal field splitting. So in case of free metal ion, the 5d orbitals are degenerate. What are the 5d orbitals? Once you note, I'll explain this, what happens here. If you have noted, please let me know, ma.
Noted, sir.
Okay, right. So in case of, see what happens, the d orbitals, you know that dxy, dyz, dzx, dx square minus y square, dz square. These are the orbitals what you have. Okay. Now these orbitals will have same energy for a for a free metal ion. These orbitals will have same energy. And now you see, this is my dxy. Okay, this is my dxy. That means between x and y axis it will be there. So similarly, dyz, if I have to draw, so assume that z axis is towards us. It is like this. Okay, z axis. You can orient in the way you like, no problem. So Z I will put like this. So here it is like this. So I have put this one. This is XZ. So D ZX this is. So similarly, you can write DYZ. Okay, DYZ also you can draw. So the next one is like dx square minus y square. Okay. So here this is my, this is x and this is y. This is my dx square minus y square. And dz square will look like this. Dz square is a little bit complicated. We'll draw like this. So it has a special kind of loop. So everything is oriented along z axis. So that is what is dz square. Everything is oriented along z axis. All the loops are oriented along z axis. So that is called dz square. So this is the d orbitals. Okay, d. Okay, we'll write the dyz also. So dyz, how does it look like? Okay, so it is like this. Okay, it is like this. So this is my dz. This is y. Okay, this is x. So this is my dyz. So these are the 5d orbitals what you have. Now all these orbitals have different orientation. Now orbital means actually what? They have some electrons within them. Okay, they generally have electrons. And now what happens is that when you ligands will start approaching, these orbitals, what happens actually? The ligands will approach in different directions. Okay, it can approach along the axis, it can approach from the sides. Okay, so because of that, the orbitals which are oriented in this, in between the axis, if the ligands are approaching the orbitals from in between the axis, then the orbitals which are in between the axis, they get repelled more than the orbitals which are oriented along the axis. Suppose if the ligands are approaching along the axis, then the orbitals which are oriented along the axis, they will be repelled more. You will understand this by octahedral splitting. We will explain this. Okay, so this is the fundamental idea what you have to keep in mind. Now the other thing is, this is why you get this, another words we can tell that the degeneracy is lifted. The degeneracy is lifted. The degeneracy is lifted. So the number of ligands. So the next one is the number of ligands. The number of ligands. The number of ligands and their arrangement. And their arrangement. You can say geometry. Around the central metal ion. Around the central metal ion. Around the central metal ion will have this is the point number 5, will have different effect on relative energies of the 5d orbitals. Have a different effect on the relative energies of 5d orbitals. In other words, Other words, the crystal field splitting. Crystal field splitting. In other words, the crystal field splitting in other words, the crystal field splitting of the d orbitals of the d orbitals of the d orbitals will be different, will be different for different structures, different structures. So if the structure changes, then there is a change in the crystal field splitting also. And it also depends upon the coordination number. It also depends on coordination number. How many ligands are surrounding the metal ion, that also will be telling how the crystal field splitting will happen. So that is the another thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ma. So the next one is that the magnetic field. Okay, the magnetic effects. Magnetic effects spectra. Spectra and preference for particular geometry and preference for a particular geometry can be explained by this crystal field theory. Crystal field theory. By using crystal field theory, we can explain what are the magnetic effects, all the magnetic effects. So these are some of the major points what you have to remember. So I will explain a little bit about the octahedral field. What is an octahedral complex? I'll explain that in 2 minutes. Then we'll close. Okay, ma? Can I clear this one?
Fine.
Okay. So we talk about something called octahedral field. Octahedral complex. Easy only. So the thing is that I have drawn the shapes of orbitals. You have to remember octahedral complex. One major point is that ligands will approach the metal ion through coordinate axis. Remember this, coordinate axis. So you see this one. See here at the origin, assume that the metal ion is at origin, CO3 plus, assume. And now you see this is my x dash, Z, Z dash, Y, Y dash. Okay, this is Y, Y dash. Like that, you just put this like this. Okay. Now it is like this. Now you see, this is the octahedral complex. If the ligand is approaching like this, like ammonia, you assume ammonia, NH3, NH3. Okay, ammonia. So the ligands, if it is forming an octahedral complex, the ligands are approaching in the along the coordinate axis. Then you got the octahedron. You see, exactly you get the octahedron. Are you getting this, Amma? The ligands are approaching along the coordinate axis. That's how, this is the reason they have told. The ligands are approaching the coordinate axis, approaching via the coordinate axis. Now what happens? Now, because they're approaching along the coordinate axis, the d orbitals along coordinate axis What are the d orbitals along coordinate axis? Dx square minus y square, dz square are the two orbitals which are along coordinate axis. They get repelled more. So they suffer a large amount of repulsion because ligands are approaching closer to these orbitals rather than the orbitals which are oriented in the mid of the this one. So dxy, dyz, dzx will not be repelled as much as dx square minus y square and dz square. They will not be repelled as much as like this. So the d orbitals will be split into two pieces. So the 5d orbitals we write like this. These are the 5d orbitals. They are split into two different sets. The first split is called, so this is called T2G. T2G means this is EG. Okay, T2G and EG. So, oh, I have written wrongly. This is my EG. EG and this is T2G. The T2G contains, sorry, I made it wrong. T2G contains DXY, DYZ, DZX. And
How the T2G and
that's called a term symbol. Don't worry too much about that. See, there are two sets. We'll name it. The T2G refers to three orbitals. You had to remember it: dxy, dyz, dzx. Okay, ma? It is a set. You assume this as one set right now. This is called a term symbol. Don't worry too much about that. T2G is called three orbitals. T refers to 3. You remember like that. Okay, T refers to 3. So T2G refers to, there are three orbitals, dxy, dyz, dzx. Similarly, EG refers to two orbitals which are dx square minus y square, dz square. Okay, na? You remember these two as two sets. That's easy for you to remember. Now, the dx square minus y square, they are repelled more compared to the T2G set. EG set is repelled more. So that's what is they are not degenerate anymore. Now they are not degenerate. These two are of higher energy because they suffered more repulsion. These three are of lower energy because they suffered less repulsion. Got it? No? Is this okay? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, ma. Up to this point, it is sufficient, and then there is, we call something called delta naught. This I will tell you later. Delta naught is the total energy of splitting. This total energy is called delta naught, delta O. Sometimes we call it. It's called octahedral splitting energy or crystal field splitting energy in the octahedral field. Now, there is something called crystal field stabilization energy. Okay, that part I will discuss in the next class. Okay, Up to here, you please get it. So this crystal field stabilization energy part, I will discuss in the next class. Okay, ma?
Okay, sir.
Is that okay? Okay. Now we'll close up to this point, and then we'll discuss tomorrow. Tomorrow 5 o'clock we'll meet, and then we'll discuss more about the octahedral field. So up to now, what you have to gain is that there will be when the ligands approach these orbitals in the octahedral field, especially the ligands are approaching along the axis. Because they are approaching along the axis, the orbitals which are oriented along the axis, they will be repelled more than the orbitals which are oriented in between the axis. So the d orbitals are forming two kinds of sets. Set 1 is T2G, which contains dxy, dyz, dzx. This will be as one set. The other set is EG, which is dx square minus y square and dz square. So up to here,
Okay.
you please grasp. Now I will anyway, I will put up the video record, so you can watch it one more time, no problem. So tomorrow we'll meet, and then we will continue further. Okay, ma. Right.
Okay, sir.
Bye. Take care.